to another episode of Past, Present, Future, the Knicks-based podcast. I am your host, Smitty, out here in Australia, Knicks fan. I'm here with my, as ever, dope co-hosts. We got Knicks Anonymous there in Stevie and LJ, and Ariel from Retro Gold School. Look those guys up on Twitter, at Anonymous Knicks, and at Ariel Stemiel on Twitter. I think I said that right. We're missing.
You got some Spanish in you, bro.
We're missing our other co-host today. In Trippy OG. He can't be with us here today. He's having some technical issues, but we're going to go ahead anyway. Today's date is the 28th of October in the US and the 29th in Australia. It's off the back of the 30-point win over the Pistons in Detroit. So we're just going to jump straight into it. So as you guys know, our structure goes past, present, and future, and we talk about all aspects of Knicks. So I'm going to jump straight into past. Now, the last two games we played prior to today's game against Detroit were against the Memphis Grizzlies and Portland. We lost to Portland by 3. Obviously, they were missing Dame, but Jeremy Grant had a huge game. And also Anthony Simons was big. He wasn't shooting the greatest. He actually went into OT shooting 2 of 10, I think, for 2 of 12 from 3, and ended up hitting 2 of the biggest threes of the game in overtime. So I think he was 100% in overtime on threes, or 75%. Now they were close losses, and then obviously we went to Memphis. We played. Memphis came to us in the Garden. We played Memphis. Jar seemed quiet to start, but ended up having a triple double and was quite efficient. It was on 45%. And it was a very close game that came down to the end, and a couple missed shots. So that leads me into my question and into my first person to give a take. So those were some tough fought games that, regardless of who was available or who wasn't. Obviously, Memphis was also missing Desmond Bane. That leads me into the question of a tough fought game. What do you take away from those? Because I think there were some positives. As bad as a loss always is, there were some positives, especially against the Memphis one, because they were a little bit stronger outfit. So I'm going to hit that over to you, Stevie, man. What did you take away from those games? Positives, negatives? Those are the 2 most recent games. They were both losses, but I think there was some honor in some of those.
One positive I could definitely get out of it is it wasn't great, and I don't know if starting Quentin Grimes has something to do with this, but the perimeter defense was kind of improved in both games. Like you said, Anthony Simons started slow for a reason. So, our perimeter defense has something to do with that. Same thing with Ja Morant. In the Memphis game, he started with 8 points in the first half. He just went off in the second half because I'll go into a negative real quick. As far as that game goes, it was a bad coaching decision. For some reason, we switched Grimes off him. Excuse me. For some reason, we switched Grimes off Ja Morant in the second half and stopped rotating him and Cam off him. And he started going off after that. So that was a negative. But as far as overall, the perimeter defense didn't look too bad in both those games. So I could definitely get that as a positive.
All right. So from that, what did you see as in positives from Knicks players throughout those games? Obviously, I believe it was Randle that was quiet. He only had something like a really low shooting night. Didn't attempt many shots the night in that Memphis game. If I'm not wrong, who would you have said were the standouts for the Knicks for both those games? Obviously, Jalen Brunson was huge, but missed those shots at the end. You can't really ask much more of him than that. But I personally felt, so before you answer this, Jalen Brunson probably didn't need to take that last shot. We had more time. I think there could have been maybe a better option. I don't mind a guy trying to do what he's doing, but then again, remember, he did come here and say, I'm not the savior. So I thought maybe there would have been a defer to someone else there, especially considering he missed the shot prior to that as well. So personally, it's not a gripe against him. I just thought maybe we would hand it off to someone else in that situation. I thought he was great in both games. And yeah, I mean, Jalen Brunson's my standout for both those games. But again, I do have to say I think it was wrong for him to take that last shot, especially that game in Memphis. But what were your Knicks standouts as in player wise from either of those games?
Definitely Grimes, man. His numbers weren't big, man, but he played very good ball, especially on the defensive end. I believe he had 8, 5, and 3 that first game in Portland, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong about that. But he usually has good all-around numbers, so I give him I'm sorry, excuse me. I give him credit for that. Cam's defense was on point as well. Um, wow. RJ had a good game as well. One of those. I can't remember which one. I believe it was Portland, if I'm not mistaken.
He had a good game in against Memphis too. I mean,
Yeah.
Even Randle had a great game. He just, as I said, he only attempted 9 shots. He almost had a triple double. He was very efficient. I probably didn't push the envelope enough. This is the issues we do see with Randle, and that is part of the frustrations of Knicks family. Sometimes you want him to do more, and sometimes you want him to do less. It seems he can't find that balance. But yeah, man. Anything else you would take away from either of those games, or is it just mostly the what you saw from Grimes in defensively and the perimeter defense?
I would say mostly the perimeter defense and RJ as well, man. It's great to see him at least start coming back into form little by little. He just needs to keep at it, man. I'm not too down. I'm down on him a little, but not as much as a lot of Knicks Nation is, because he seems to be getting a lot of slander. Criticism is okay. Slander, not so much. I don't mind the criticism, but chill with the slander, Knicks fans. He seems to be getting back into form slowly but surely, man. As I always say, he doesn't check out, and these 2 games show he still played. He played very well. I just hope he continues.
Absolutely. I mean, I think the biggest thing is with RJ is we don't want to see another slow start. So we're sick of he starts slow, especially when you get to 20 plus games into the season. It becomes a little bit of a tight excuse. But I do agree. Great takes, man. Again, thank you as always. The perimeter defense was something that stood out for me as well. But that was good. So that wraps up past for us. We're going to head straight now into the present. So today, as I stated at the start, we played against the Detroit Pistons. It was a 30-point win, right? As you would expect, they're obviously missing both Cade Cunningham and Jaden Ivey now, knee soreness. It was in Detroit. Look, they've got the worst record in the NBA. We obviously expect to win, but that's not to say we have to sit here and be super negative about it. So, yeah, man, I'm going to lead straight into it with just jump straight into the question here for you, Ariel. Randle had a big night, and I know, and I'm posing this one to you because I know you've been critical, maybe a little bit OD at times, but not without reason. I'm not saying you don't have reason. You just you've been a bit critical, so I'm gonna pose this on to you. He had a big night, very efficient and effective. Now, before I give you this question, or before you give me your take, I want to compare it. So there was some mutterings on Twitter that Randle's was ball hogging, and that the shots and stuff. It's a nothing 22 at that point in time. He had 22 points or whatever, or that his numbers, regardless, it's nothing. Now, we had the same issue back when we played Brooklyn. I look at Brooklyn as a game of where it doesn't matter what he's putting in. Remember, he was cashing in those threes and he was going at Durant, but it meant nothing because it was getting us nowhere. It amounted to nothing in that game. It was a blowout. We absolutely got smoked. Kevin Durant showed why he is one of probably the top 25 players of all time, and maybe a top 10, top 5 scorer of all time that we've ever seen. And it was ridiculous. That's a game where I look at and I go, Randle was horrible. Now, to get back to the present before I get off track, today was the complete opposite of that. He was putting up quite a few shots. It was falling, but it was absolutely paramount to the win today. It got us off to the start that we needed. It pushed us in the right direction, and it got the whole team going. I feel because it gave other guys the chance to see less coverage. So from tonight, Randle's performance, we know what that is. Give us a little bit on that, and what else you saw that was great tonight from the guys that did stand up, and even tell us the bad things you saw tonight. For instance, I didn't like the Jericho Sims little to no minutes, but again, Mitch played great, and Mitch is coming back. He is the guy we paid. So give us your thoughts on today's game, Ariel.
Yeah, I mean, today's game is not really anything to complain about. I mean, you had the guys, they came out and they handled their business. They did what they had to do. That was a bad team they were going up against. A lot of guys hurt. And you had it, and then you see the way Julius played. I mean, you got to tip your hat to him. And like I said, I've been very critical of him for a long time, since last year. And I got to give the guy credit. Like I said, we're quick to always, because we have our narratives and players that we like. We kind of like pretty much pray for them to fail. And I want to make it very clear, when I go on my Julius stuff, I don't root for the guy to fail. I just root for him to break those bad habits that make him fail.
Yeah.
And that's the key thing that I got to realize. I said, when you wear that Nick jersey, I'm going to support you, whether even if you're not prototypically someone I would root for. But just because you're wearing a jersey, I'm going to want you to succeed. I'm going to want you to play better. And I'm going to hold you accountable when you're not playing good and you're not playing to your potential. And that's my critique with Julius Randle. Obviously, it's some of the off-the-court stuff, the body language, the post-game stuff that comes out of his mouth. I wish he would learn how to carry himself a different way, and it would be infectious to the team. You know, that's the reason why I get on him about that type of stuff. But on the performance on the court, the guy's still putting up numbers, yes. But the problem with him is just the attitude. And like, if you could stay consistently, like, be happy when you're having a good game, but I also want you to keep that energy when your shot's not falling, because you could do other things to help this team win. You could defer. You could learn how to, you know what, if I don't got it within 3 seconds, well, I'm not making my move. Let me get some continuity going. And that's why I think sometimes, like, he has that tunnel vision. Kind of sometimes the same problem with my guy RJ. You know, that when they feel like they have to press so hard to try to prove a point, let the game come to you, bro. If you look in the beginning of the season when everybody was praising Julius, why was he playing well? Because he was making quicker decisions. He wasn't holding the ball for too long. He was very decisive. And guess what? When his shot wasn't falling at certain moments, he still got back and contested. He wasn't back there crying to the ref. You know, we all know that the officiating stinks against the Knicks. Is always one-sided. And that's not just us crying as fans. It's just anybody that has an eye test and sees a game that a team shooting 58 free throws. It just, and you look at the other team playing at home, the difference is so obvious. And, you know, it just makes me happy that Julius is playing well, because he's proven even people like me wrong, that when he is committed, you know, he could do these type of things. I just want him to keep that consistency throughout the season, not just because you're playing the Pistons and they're undermanned and you're dogging Isaiah Stewart. You know, I want you to do that when your shot's not falling, things ain't going your way. Defer, bro. It's okay. Look what happened in Memphis. We almost came out of there with a win, because I saw little things that Julius was doing too, aside from just this game. I saw that, you know, he did make some, you know, some what the F moments, but he also gave me moments. So I was like, damn, I'm proud of him. He passed it at the right time. He saw it wasn't there. You know, the only thing I had to critique on him is just that I had all year, the dribble in the air and not knowing where you're going. You got to stop that. They teach you that in AAU, bro. Like, you can't do that on an NBA pro level. It's going to cause the team a lot of steals, a lot of transition hoops. Just be quick. Quick Julius is the best Julius. I always said that. Quick and decisive, bro. Stay like that. It's only going to help this team better, bro. Regardless of what we think, he is the guy on his team at the moment. RJ is still, you know, it's still in the air right now, you know. Julius is still the number one guy, whether people want to face it or not. He's still going to give you that 21 and 10. That's who he is. You know, I just want him to stay consistent. That's all I want. I know he's getting the meditating thing going. He's got some whatever was going on with him last year. Because I always say, but something was off with Boy last year, and you could see it. It was, I don't even think I had nothing to do with basketball really. I think whether it was something at home, I don't know. But whatever it is, get it corrected, bro, because we need you here. We need you committed. And these young kids need to see that type of leadership, bro, because when we don't see that, man, I'm seeing RJ's press conferences, and it's like it kind of spreads from one person to another. It's contagious, bro. Like, the only one that's really talking is Jalen. Not to get off subject, but I got to tip my hat to Julius tonight. There's no Julius slander. He didn't take too many shots. I mean, the dude, it was his birthday. You know, he was showing his eyes. Let him be, bro. Like, I'm not with the Julius slander tonight. Just keep that energy all year, bro. Like, when your shot's not falling, keep doing it. Keep trying, bro. Like, get back on defense. Do little things, man, to help your team win, bro.
No doubt. I mean, I can't disagree with any of that. I have to say that Julius, when his attitude's better, it's a much better version of him. It's the times when he lets himself get in his own head, or as we've spoken about this time and time again. I mean, we don't have to really rehash this, but it's just while we're on topic, is we see him better when he's making better decisions. Now, look, don't get me wrong. Some of those threes he was putting up today at the start of the game, although they were cashing, you sort of look at that and go, all right, is that the night we're in for? Just because Julius is not a three-point shooter. He does practice it. He is at times great, and other times bad. So I just don't think it's him. I don't think it's his game. I'm all for him doing it though, and if they're falling, shoot your shot, but it can lead into the next game, as we've seen, where he thinks he's on fire and he starts out the game just jacking up junk. So that's another gripe I would have with that, and I think that needs to be ironed out of the approach to the game. I'm not going to say attitude because it's not a bad attitude thing. That's just an approach to the game, knowing your game, knowing your personnel, because you can go in against the Pistons and smoke them and hit 6 threes or whatever. We saw him do that in the year that he won MIP, right? But then you come up against a team that defends you way better and pushes you out and puts pressure on those shots, those outside shots, in a way that it's like, we're going to let you shoot them, but at the same time, we're going to let you know we're still here. So they play in between, and those shots don't fall all of a sudden. And once the team notices that they're not falling, it's very easy to get on top of a guy like Julius mentally. I feel so. But yeah, I think everyone in here would agree when with your sentiment about him doing things when his shot's not falling, or just even when it is, not always looking for his shot. You don't have to be the guy that's always putting the ball in. This is what I was referring to, going back to talking about the last subject about Brunson. It didn't have to be him trying to put up those last shots. It's the same thing, a team game, right? Look for the guy that's open, and look for sometimes the guy that's the least, the least predictable to take that last second shot. I mean, look at the Lakers game the other night, right? Against Pacers. Nembhard ended up with it. He hadn't had a great game, but he put that shot up because LeBron's like, I'm going to sag off him. It's only a rook and he hasn't done much tonight. And then all of a sudden, LeBron's got to try and close out on him late, and he cashes it and it's a game winner. Now, I'm not saying that's
good for him.
Yeah, I'm not saying that works all the time, but, why don't we try more of that rather than be so predictable? So, and that speaks to Julius. He becomes predictable. He makes it predictable when he's trying to force things. So yeah, man, great take. Appreciate that. That wraps up today. And obviously, and again, hats off to Julius. I'm a fan. I always have been, but at the same time, I'm very critical of and have been open about his attitude and his approach when it all starts to go wrong. Julius doesn't seem to know how to handle the rough ride. So that's going to lead me into our next topic anyway. Thank you again, Ariel, man. As always, appreciate it. So, future. So this is the last segment of our show today. It's been great so far. So the run that we've got, this is coming to you, obviously, LJ. Sorry, man, I'm just getting up our schedule here. So the run that we've got, I know we've got the Bucks next on our schedule. I'm gonna read you the run to Christmas. I was gonna do it to the end of December, but there's quite a few games in between now and then. I didn't realize there were so many. So our next games are Milwaukee. We got Dallas. That's 2 tough games, right? I mean, Dallas, middle of the table in the West, but Luka Doncic can always pop up. And we play against half of the ex-Knicks. They're going to want to show up. That's the Mavericks over there in Dallas.
They got Kemba.
I actually heard. I heard
Kemba
Kemba might go over there.
Kemba's going to be playing by then, I would assume. Then we go to Cleveland. It's at home. Sorry, but we play Cleveland. We go to our rivals, our modern rivals come in, ATL, and then Charlotte. That's probably a game you would think we would win. Sacramento, as I predicted in a lot of group chats this year, doing exceptionally well. They can pop up and really beat good teams. They do have a great team there. Then we go Chicago, Indiana, Warriors, Toronto, Chicago, and Philly on Christmas Day. Now, that's a pretty tough run.
Chicago's a winnable game.
Given Chicago are not doing too great at the moment, there is still a chance that they beat us because DeRozan is another guy that can pop up and just smoke us. Now, both of those games are actually in Chicago, not back-to-back nights, but back-to-back games in Chicago. Most of those teams are pretty hard tasks, especially Indiana this year, man. They've been great as well. Warriors starting to find their feet, although they just lost today. What do you think so this leads me into our question. Where do you see us by Christmas Day going up against Philly? You can include Christmas Day if you want. Give us a rough record, and maybe some of those teams will beat. If you need to get the record up, get that up now. But
7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
I'd love
13.
to hear.
So 13.
13 games. Let me give you what we're standing at now. If you're not up to date with that, I believe we're 10 and 11.
That's right.
Yes, we're 10 and 11 after today.
Yeah, 10 and 11.
One game under 500, another 13 to come. That would put us at what? So we're at 21 games played now. That would put us at around the 34, 35 mark. played. Where do you see us after 34, 35 games?
I bet. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna tally it off, right? So the Bucks off rip, I'm gonna mark that as an L. Just because of who the Bucks are. They're just a well more developed team. I mean, at the end of the day, there is no guarantee. So I feel like the Knicks do have a type of team that we could steal any type of game if everybody's on that night. Like if we have Barrett, Brunson, Randle, Reddish, Grimes, if we have all those guys on par, we definitely have a competitive chance to beat the Bucks. It's gonna be don't get me wrong, like we may beat them, but it might be like by 1-3, something extremely close. I don't know if Middleton is back.
He
I'm not
might
really
be
sure
back.
on
He may be back because he's been
that's a
playing in the D League.
huge problem, right?
Yeah.
So
So they got
that's a
Connaughton
huge
back
problem.
now. You got to take note. They've got Connaughton back.
Nah,
Drew
Middleton
Holiday's
is
back.
out.
Huh? Is he
He's
going to be
out?
out?
Yeah,
Okay.
they said he's
Well,
off. Still
okay.
court.
all right.
So,
Well, they still got Connaughton back. They got Drew back. Giannis, obviously, Lopez. They're more or less healthy, minus Middleton, but they've made it this far without Middleton. Plus, a few guys going down and missing some time. What do you see?
Yeah, so I'm gonna mark that as an L. I'm gonna just chalk that down as an L. The Mavericks, for trolling purposes, I'm gonna mark that down as a W.
Well, we
Cause
do have their card, right? We do have
Yeah.
their
Yeah, sure
for
do.
some reason, no matter what, we just always beat them. So obviously Luka's been on a tear lately. He actually may just win MVP this year. If not win, he's definitely gonna be in the running. I still think we do match up very well with them, especially with the big man situation, because they don't really have a dominant big. They have good bigs. Don't get me wrong. I've seen them play, but the way Mitchell Robinson's been playing, I feel like we can match up in terms of size. And the guard play, Tim Hardaway, Bullock. I think our guys can actually. I think the only guy we really got to worry about at the end of the day is Luka. And the way Reddish has been playing defense, if Reddish is healthy and he gets that chance to guard him, even Grimes. Because the thing with Luka is you gotta force, RJ too. You gotta force him to dribble. Luka's very slow. He's very crafty, but he's slow. Grimes is
break
like
you down with those slow dribbles too. That's the thing. Is
yeah. So Grimes, he has his speed, right? So I think Grimes can make it hard for him. Not that's not gonna say a lot because Luka is Luka. He's probably gonna drop 35 to it is what it is. But I think Grimes will, I think he's gonna show out. So I think I'll mark that down as a W.
all right. So let's break this down though, so we can get it in sort of chunks. So starting from the next game, which is tomorrow against Milwaukee, we go on a five game homestand. So Milwaukee, Dallas, 4-game homestand. So 4 games in the Garden. Where do you see us after those 4?
After those 4, okay.
How many wins out of those do you? So it's Milwaukee, Dallas, Cleveland, Atlanta.
Okay. So I see us beating the Mavericks, and I think we can steal one from the Cavaliers. I don't think we'll beat the Hawks.
Okay. All right. And then after that, it goes a bit of a mix. It goes away, home, away. So 3 in a row. But Charlotte, obviously a beatable team. Sacramento, we could still beat them, but they're not to be slept on this year at all.
Yeah, you can't play with the Hornets. That's the team where you just can't play with your food kind of team, because they will punch you in the mouth if you let them.
Yeah, of course. And I don't know what the status is of LaMelo Ball at the minute. He may be back by then. Is he out at the moment? I think he's still out after stepping on that guy's foot and re-injuring that ankle. And then in the next 4 block, it's obviously So Charlotte, Sac, Chicago, but both of those games are in Chicago. So there's only 1 home game out of 4 there. Where do you see us out of that next block of 4?
The Sacramento Kings, that's going to be a very interesting game because, like you said, Sacramento Kings are on to a great start. I don't know.
Bear in mind, that's the only game out of that next block of 4 games that's at home.
Yeah, it's Halliburton's on that team, right?
No. Halliburton's in Indiana these days, man.
He's in Indiana. Okay, they traded him, right? Okay, so let me see. I don't really know the.
They got Keegan Murray. They got
Okay.
Keegan Murray. They got Sabonis. They got Fox.
Oh, that's Randall's best friend. I think Randall's gonna show out. I think Randall's gonna take that personally because I feel like they compared him a lot. So I think he might take it personally and might show him what's up. So I'll mark that down as a W.
Okay. So what you see is 2-2 again out of that, maybe?
Yeah, I definitely see us 2-2.
I think we would steal one of those games on the road in Chicago just because of how Chicago's playing at the moment. But again,
I
can't
agree.
sleep on them. Can't sleep on them.
Yeah, so the thing with double headers is it's tricky because, usually when you beat the team the first time, they usually, because they're professionals at the end of the day. So they got film, they got, they study each other. So sometimes, it depends on the coaching and, just the players themselves to actually adapt. And honestly, I think we could get two on them, honestly. I think we have a good coach, solid guys. They're actually struggling right now. They're trying to really figure out where their footing is right now. And I think as of right now, the Knicks are starting to gain their identity slowly. I think we're gonna actually, in terms of ego, I like to call it the ego challenge. I think we can beat them both times
Okay, so
because I
maybe we
think
come out of that 4 game skid 3-1,
yeah,
possibly. All right,
for
I can
sure.
see that. So I'm pushing to the next 4 block then. So it's a pretty tough block. This leads us right up to Christmas Eve. So we go Indiana in Indiana, then we go to three games in a row at home. So Golden State Warriors, Toronto, Chicago again. Now, if we beat Chicago
Yeah,
twice, there's a fair chance they're gonna, and it's in the Garden. We know DeRozan's gonna want to turn up for that.
yeah,
I'm gonna include Christmas Day in that, and that's Philly. So 5 games. The next 5 games: Indiana, Golden State, Toronto, Chicago, Philly. All of those are at home except Indiana. What do you see us out of that?
Okay, so the Pacers, I think that's a media L. They're actually they have a nice young core and they're really starting to gel and find their footing. What's his name? Ben Matherin, he's going ape right now. He is balling like no tomorrow.
Yeah, he's solid.
So I think we will lose
I
against the
wanted Ben
Pacers.
Matthews.
I
Yeah,
think
I
a lot
want
of
I
Ben
wanted Ben
Mathurin.
Matherin too, not for nothing. Yeah. So they're definitely on a tear over there. Miles Turner. Yeah, that's gonna be a very hard game. No, don't get me wrong. I don't think we'll get blown out. I think it's just gonna be like last time. It's gonna be a good fight, and I think they just might slip away towards the end. Due to how their team is set up, and they're actually a more formed team than we are right now. I would say. The Warriors. That's debatable, honestly. I think, in my opinion, even with Steph Curry, I still think we may give him issues because we're a very aggressive team, and that's Steph Curry's weakness is you play him with aggression. Now it's gonna be tough because of the way the NBA is refed right now, and he is a superstar, and he's most likely gonna get that superstar treatment. So, not for nothing, I marked that as a W too. I'll mark that as a W.
Wow.
Um, yeah, I'll mark that as a W. Raptors. I don't know. Raptors, they've been streaky, but when they're on, they're on. So I
They're
feel
hard.
like,
They're a very hard team to match up against. I think that's
yeah, very tall, right? They're a
well,
tall team.
I call them the team of all power forwards or all stretch forwards, pretty much, man. They're all they all range between 6'5", apart from Fred VanVleet, maybe Malachi Flynn. They all range from 6'5" to 6'8". I think there's one guy on that whole team, maybe two tops, that's over 6'8". So
Yes.
they play a very long game, but at the same time they're small in obviously the center position. They play it at a smaller height. They try and outgun you, try and outpace you, and they do match up well. They are a very solid defensive team when it is going. It's just offensively you can let them shoot themselves out of it. That is the issue with the guys that they have. They can be streaky as well, but obviously Siakam's back. He'll be it, given that he doesn't injure himself again by then, he will be in fine form, you would assume, by then. And Scotty Barnes would likely be back in fine form by then. So keep that in mind.
Yeah, that's gonna be a fun game to watch, honestly, because they're kind of like us, like you just said, like they like to run transition, and that's basically what we thrive off of. So it's just pretty much gonna be the battle of the transitions, So it's gonna be very interesting who's gonna be the breakout. Because I feel like that's what's gonna come down to in this game. Someone either will be on the Knicks or the Raptors. Someone is gonna take the initiative to push that lead forward. So we're for the Raptors, I would most likely think it would be what's the rookie's name?
Barnes,
Or is he a
Scotty Barnes.
rookie? Scotty Barnes? Yeah,
Yeah,
Scotty
second year player.
Barnes.
Yep.
So I think it's gonna be Scotty Barnes or Fred Van Fleet for that side. They both have the microwave badge, as us 2K players say. So and for the Knicks, obviously I'm gonna go with Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle. So obviously Julius Randle is older than Scotty Barnes, probably a little bit stronger, but like you said, they're tall guys, so it's gonna be kind of hard to really match up with them in that aspect. I'll jot that as a L. I'll jot that as a L.
All right. And then so just give us
And then the Bulls. Yeah, so the Bulls, I think they beat us this time. You know, statistically, it's hard to beat a team 3 times in a row, so I'll just give them the benefit of the doubt. The Sixers. So when you look at the Sixers and their roster, you'll be like, oh, like you think like, oh shit, right? But James Harden has been, well, okay. 'Cause I don't really follow the Sixers, but last time I checked, James Harden has been on a really inconsistent streak. I don't know if he's still on that streak,
he hasn't
but
been playing.
there
He's
was
been
talks
injured.
that him and oh, he's been injured. Okay, so
Yeah,
there you go.
he
So
might
is
be
he gonna be
back by
injured again?
then, though.
Probably most likely.
Yeah, but he might be back by then.
What
Okay.
luck?
What luck? Yeah.
Christmas.
Yeah. I think we lose.
Against
I think we lose just by if Embiid is hot, like if Embiid is on fire, I think we lose because I don't think we really have anybody to really deal with Joel Embiid. We could say people could argue Mitch, but at the end of the day, that's an all-star center, one of the best in the league, and if he's on fire, he'll show you why. So I think we'll lose, especially if James Harden is there. A lot of focus is gonna be on Joel Embiid. So most of the time, Joel Embiid's probably gonna get doubled in the paint, and all he has to do is just dump it out to either Tobias Harris or James Harden, and you know, and our perimeter defense isn't good, so that won't be a good matchup for us really. So I'll jot that one as a L.
Okay, so I think that gives us a total out of 13 games of that gives us a total of 8-5. Now
That's good.
That's what you've got more or less, and that's gone 1-4 in the last block of that. Now appreciate everything there from you, LJ, man. That was great. Now just gonna hit Stevie and Ariel with this quick fire, rapid fire after everything you've heard, and obviously you've been witness to the breakdown and whatnot. What would you see us at? So you heard LJ was around 8-5. Where would you see us after those next 13 games?
7-6. I don't see us being the Cavs for some reason, especially with Garland there. Because last time we lost to them, they didn't have Garland. Now Garland is back.
Yep.
So yeah, I see us at 7-6.
Okay, yeah, that's reasonable. I mean, that's still above 500, so that's great for us. Ariel, what about you, man?
I got them at least winning 8 games in that stretch.
So you would say around the same 8-5, right?
Yeah, around the same. Yeah, I hope I'm wrong, but I'm being realistic. Not setting myself up for failure. So
that's fair. I would personally see us probably realistically, probably going to be it's probably going to be more like 6 and 7. I would have thought. Yeah,
I can believe that as well.
Yeah,
that kind of sounds about right.
That's possible.
6 and 7. At best, I would say 8-5. Would no higher, but yeah, I'm going to say 6 and 7. Just not
so the 7. So wait, so I'm curious. The 7. Who do you got us losing to?
All right, so let me go through this. Let me get this back up. So in that first block, I have us losing to Milwaukee. Dallas, I actually believe we could, just because we have the wood over them. I see us losing to Cleveland, Atlanta. I see us beating Charlotte. I see us losing to Sac. I see us taking one of those games in Chicago. So it's probably that in Chicago. I don't see us winning 2.
Okay.
Indiana probably beat us. Warriors, I would have.
Man, all I hear is I need a lot of alcohol in this stretch.
Yeah, with Warriors. Look, man, Warriors is Warriors, and it's in the Garden. Toronto, though, that's a game. for me
Yeah,
personally,
I might have to rethink my answer because I forgot about the Warriors. So I might have to agree with
I'm
you.
gonna say
I might have
I'm
to
gonna
agree
have to
with you on
check
the
up on
Sixers
me, man.
quickly.
yeah,
I might
I'm
be
gonna say the
MIA.
Raptors game too might be tough. I
Sorry about
really
that schedule.
I really want us to win that Raptors game. That's really important to me because I got a friend that's a Raptors fan. You know, to you, Jordan, if you ever hear this and you're listening, screw you, screw the Raptors. You guys suck. Um,
This is about more than
Yo,
basketball.
we gotta watch out for Chris Boucher.
yeah.
Shout out to my friend Mike. Then our friend Mike likes the Mavericks. The Mavericks suck.
Oh my
yeah.
god.
And then look, man, Chicago. I see
They
us
still
beating them
got
at
Tim
home.
Hardaway Jr.
I see us beating Chicago at home, and Philadelphia. I just don't know. It depends on who we got. So I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go a safe 6 and 7 through the next 13. That's plausible, and I think that's not a bad thing. That still probably puts us 2 games. I believe that would put us 2 games under 500 at that point, still in the season. Before the end of the month wraps up, but I don't think that's a horrible position to be in. I don't think it's really much far off what people realistically expected from us. So anyway, man, this leads us to the end of the show. It's been a great show. I appreciate everyone for showing up, and everyone's takes have been fantastic. It's been a
Yo, no
lot
Mitchell
shorter of a
Robinson love
sorry.
tonight. No Mitchell Robinson love,
Mitchell
man. We
Robbins was
missed that
great,
dude.
man. I got Mitch for my fantasy, and he's been great ever since I picked him back up. So
Oh, you do fantasy basketball? You're insane.
yeah.
That's so much to keep up with, man. Oh
You're
my God.
insane.
Yeah, it is.
Look, man, that's part of another reason why I need a lot of alcohol. So, but yeah, I appreciate you guys as always for tuning in. It's obviously 16 hours ahead on this time side of the world. I know it's getting late there, so again, appreciate you guys. Everyone that's listening, be sure to check in and tune in, check out and tune into everyone's show. So, Anonymous, Nick's Anonymous, that drops on Mondays, right? 7 a.m.
Yes,
You've
sir.
got Retro Gold School. Tell them what day that drops, Ariel.
Tuesdays into Sundays into Mondays.
Okay, and then we got some spaces to pop up from time to time. We haven't really got a fixed schedule. I'm trying to get one for PPF that works for everyone. Maybe one that moves a little bit around. But do be sure to check myself out and the other guys out in spaces if you are on Twitter. And yeah, as always, we appreciate you. We're brought to you by the VSN Network. And thanks for listening. Peace.
The
Let's go
Iverson tribute
Knicks.
coming.